The integumentary systems are composed of organs. In this case, the organ is the skin. In this figure, you can see that the skin has 3 layers: epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. So this is the organ, the skin. All the organs are composed of tissues. So this epidermis is composed of epithelial tissue, stratified squamous. The dermis, see this pink area right here, this one right here, and this one right here, is connective tissue. Because as you can see, it connects these structures that you have in here. And also in the hypodermis, you have adipose tissue. Functions of the skin: resistance to trauma and infection. For example, it's given to you by the outer layer of your skin, such as your epidermis, because keratin, which is a very important protein that we have on our skin, is going to protect us against, for example, trauma. Our skin is impermeable to water. It prevents water from going in or going out in excess from our body, which may cause problems. Vitamin D synthesis, one of the steps necessary to produce vitamin D, happens in the skin. Sensation, we have receptors in the skin. For example, we have receptors for temperature, for pain. Right? Thermoregulation, it insulates our body so we don't lose our temperature. We keep scrolling down. We see the epidermis. In the epidermis, we said we have multiple layers, and these layers are going to be called stratums. So what stratums we have? Corneum, lucidum, granulosum, spinosum, and basal. Since we have multiple layers, we have multiple different kinds of cells. For example, we said this is a stratified squamous. That means that these cells, most of them are going to be squamous. We're constantly shedding cells in our epidermis. Eventually, we will run out of these cells unless that we have a cell that is going to be replacing these cells. This cell that replaces these cells that we're constantly losing is going to be the stem cell. The stem cell produces multiple cells, and these cells keep going up and up and up and replacing the ones that we're constantly losing. The keratinocytes, which are the ones that we are constantly losing because they die, right? They are produced actually at the very bottom layers of the epidermis. Eventually they trouble up, they die, they fill with keratin, and eventually we shed them. In addition to that, our skin has color. And this color is going to be provided by the melanocytes. The melanocytes produce a substance called melanin. All humans have melanocytes, and we all produce melanin in more or less quantities, but we all do. Other type of cells that we have in there are going to be dendritic cells. The dendritic cells are going to be part of our immune system that is going to help defend our body in case that some bacteria get inside. These are the very first cells that are going to start fighting. We have other cells in here, tactile cells, that are going to be part of receptors that are going to help us identify things that we are touching, for example, with our fingers. We have these extensions from the epidermis going into the dermis. These ones are called epidermal ridges. Now, the ones from that dermis going up into the epidermis, as you can see here, they are called dermal papillae. Let's keep scrolling down. The dermis. Okay, we said the dermis is another layer in our skin. The dermis is going to have connective tissue. What the connective tissue is going to connect in there, different structures. You have blood vessels, nerves, muscles, glands, receptors that are going to be connected by the connective tissue. The type of connective tissue that you have in there is going to be dense, irregular. The hypodermis. The hypodermis, we said that we have fat. The job of the fat is insulation, providing cushion, energy storage. The next topic is hair and nails. The structures that the hair is going to have, for example, hair root, a hair bulb, this one right here at the very bottom, and a hair shaft. Hair shaft is the one that we are constantly cutting. Hair is always associated with a muscle, which is called the piloerector muscle, and also associated with gland. This gland produces oil that is going to keep our hair oily, because if our hair dries, then obviously it's going to break. Nails, the very bottom is called the lunule, this one right here. The middle is the nail body, and also we have the free edge, which is a part that we are constantly cutting. So let's keep scrolling down. The next topic is cutaneous glands, sweat glands. So in this case, the sweat glands produce sweat. Sweat helps us to cool our body down because sweat removes heat. Sebaceous glands, they produce sebum, which is a type of oil. It's very important to have oil, for example, associated to our hair. We already mentioned that. Otherwise, it will break. It will become brittle. Not only that, we have also oiling in our face, in our skin, right? In order to maintain our skin flexible. Other glands that we have are ceruminous glands. Ceruminous glands are the glands that produce wax, and we have wax, for example, in our ears. It protects our ears against the overgrowth of bacteria, and also it waterproofs the ear canal against water. Mammary glands, these are also exocrine glands. Human females produce milk. That happens when the females are breastfeeding a baby.